Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to go over the 1 to 5 player game Tapestry, published by Stonemaier Games. So let's go down the table here. I'm going to give you a general idea how the game plays. Then we'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so this is what a typical setup of Tapestry might look like. I have this set up for 5 players. I only have 1 player board out that you can see though, just so everything fits on camera. And we're going to go over a couple things really to start. Some of them is going to be some of the things that you get outside of it, like when you pull your civilization card, which I'll show you in a second, there's actually this Tapestry civilization adjustments that comes with the newer versions of the Tapestry board game. If you have an older version of Tapestry, you can go on to Stonemaier's website and print it out. This, if you want, adjusts all the different civilizations or civilization types to be all more balanced. You don't actually have to use this. The game didn't originally come with it, and in my opinion, most of the time it's just fine without it. But if you want to have them completely balanced, this is what you want to use. This is Civilization Adjustment Sheet, and again, you can print it off at Stonemaier Games website if you don't have it in your version. The other thing we're not going to go over is there's a rule set for the Automata, which allows for a single player experience on the game. It's just like the regular rules. It's just a couple pages of rules. Pretty easy to go through, but I'll let you do that on your own. Another thing is that if you want to play 2-player, there is the Shadow Empire variant sheet that lets you play with basically an automaton for one of the players. That takes monuments and stuff to help facilitate player interaction for 2-player. Finally, you also get a really cool reference sheet. This is actually where you're going to, when you first play the game, people are going to be looking at the most. This is going to be explaining all the different steps on each of the tracks you can take. And the majority of what people need to know, again, is going to be on this sheet. So once people get used to the iconography, you're going to need this less and less. But if you want to know some of the available technologies that can come up, they're on this side too. So those are the additional materials that you get with the game. I will say that I really like the linen finish that comes with the rulebook. It's really nice. You can't really see this on film, but it's really nice quality. We go over component quality really quick. Component quality in this game is amazing. These, I didn't paint them, they came painted. They're really, really nice little achievements that you can put on your territory, which I'll show you in a second. And even like the little pieces that you put on your board are really nice and detailed. Your little conquer tokens are really nice too. Everything component quality is great. The player boards have the same linen finish. Card quality is great. Just like any normal Stonemaier's games, these component quality is really, really good. Okay, so a couple things when you start the game. This map is actually 2-sided. We're playing on the 4 to 5 player side, which has, each territory only has 1 number on it. But if you play on the 1 to 3 player side, each territory has 2 numbers on it. You're going to go through here on the 2 to 3 player side, and you're going to see those 2 numbers. You're going to grab 2 of those and then hand them out, and then the player's going to pick one. But on the 4 to 5 player side, you're just going to shuffle these and hand one to the player. They're going to put this down, and that is their territory. Now, if you look at this territory, there's going to be these little red dots. These are already considered filled in. So when you're doing your scoring here, and I'll explain in a minute, and other things, those count as areas that are filled in. So that's your territory. Now, in the game of Tapestry, I'm going to just briefly we also have to get one more thing. You really only take 1 action. You either get your income or you advanced. So it's a pretty simple game to explain. But the last thing we're going to on here is you're going to get a random civilization. And there's a lot of them. There is a lot of civilizations in this game. They're all really, really nice. They all also have that linen finish. So once you get your civilization, you're going to place that to the left side of your map, wherever you want, and read this thoroughly. Some of them have passive abilities, some of them don't, some of them just give you stuff. But read that thoroughly, and that is going to be your asymmetric power for your civilization. Now, if you notice on this mat here, you have little tokens covering everything but your leftmost space. Throughout the game, you're going to be uncovering these, but the game's going to go over 5 different rounds. And during those rounds, you're going to try to be advancing your civilization as much as possible, and then pulling in your income, so going through your income turn, getting the most possible. And the person with the most points at the end of the game wins. Now, a couple different things that we're going to go over real quick is your first turn has to be income. And I'm going to just grab another player aid right here, show you a little closer. And if you look, there's these little numbers here, very small numbers, by the side of the income track. You're going to do round 1, so your first action's only going to be gaining your goods on these player mats. And again, like I said, all but the first thing is covered. So if you look, this is what you're going to get. So you're going to annoy the things with the laurel wreaths around it and just get the stuff on the left. Now, if you get resources, you just move them up this track. And on your first turn, you're going to get 1 of every resource that you'll see here. So all these will be moved up to 1. Now, none of the resources can be higher than 8 on your track. So keep that in mind when you're gaining resources. Try to spend them before they and not waste them. The other things you're going to get, you see this little symbol right here. So if you see like symbols like this one here, you're going to get an explore token. And the explore tokens, so you're going to get this, you're just going to take a look at it, and you can put that face down here because you can't explore yet, but you just get the explore token, and you're also going to get a tapestry star card. Whoops, tapestry cards are over here. Tapestry card at the beginning of your first turn. So your first turn, you basically just get a tapestry card, you're going to get an explore token, and you're going to get 1 of each resource. This tapestry card is what you're going to use at the next income phase to place it down here. Once you, so you're really only going to have 4 of these out. On your 5th one, if you look at the player board, you actually skip placing a tapestry card. You're really just going to do 2 of your actions during, or 2 of the things during the income turn. Okay, so we'll get back to that in a second. That's your first turn. Once it comes back around to you, you're probably going to advance. You're going to keep doing the advance action, which is going to move your token in one of these 4 tracks until you probably run out of goods or decide you want to do the income action to gain more goods and get points and such. So let's go ahead over the advance action. Actually, right before that, I'm going to mention one thing on here. I did forget that, because I was showing some of the setup. Now, again, I'm actually not going to go over all the rules. I'm just giving you a general idea how the game plays, so you can decide whether this is the game for you. But not all the rules, but after you get your territory, you're going to put 2 of your little tokens out on the board. And I'll go ahead and put the opponent's ones out there too, because we're going to briefly go over the territory control portion of this game in a second. Alright, so everyone has their starting home territory, and you can advance now on one of these tracks. After you take your first turn, you get your resources. When you advance on a track, you're just simply going to take 1 of your tokens and move it 1 space to the right on the track. Now, on the top of the track is going to be the cost. So this is going to be any good you want. So you can just take 1 of these goods and lower it. And then you get the bonus above it. And you have to take this bonus. So this is going to be the technology track, and then this is going to and you're going to either take from the top of this deck if you don't like any of these three on here, or take one of the three. If you take one of these three, you're going to immediately replace it with another one, and you're going to, on your territory mat, you're going to see these little symbols. So if, when you get it, you're actually going to put it here. Now, when you first get your technology, it gives you absolutely nothing. Later on in the game, you'll have opportunities to move it up this track. And notice it has a circle and a square here. The circle is going to give you this good or reward, and the square is going to give you this reward. Now, when you try to move up to the top track, you have to pay attention to this. So this says that you have to have a tier 2, which is a 0, either yourself or a neighbor that is going to be considered a war 1. So you have to keep that in mind when you're moving it up. Now you could, or your neighbor, and then this can be moved up. And you just take a look at that little symbol. So that symbol matches the technology tracks. And again, technology tracks is actually technically military, but there's military, technology, science, and exploration. So you're going to keep doing this until you exhaust your goods, and then you can take the income action if you wish, or you could do it before you exhaust your goods. But a couple other things that have to deal with advancements on tracks. I'm going to show you the sheet because it's just easier than zooming in on the board here. But in the different tracks, if you see this icon on here, this is going to be your military one. But first, and that's going to be allowing you to take one of your tokens and place it on the board. Now when you do that, so you go here, you conquer that area. When you conquer that area, you get to roll these 2 conquer dice. And when you roll the conquer dice, whatever side they end on, you get to pick one of the benefits between both of them. So I could get either 5 points here, or this one lets me get a point for every territory I control on the board. Now, this side also has one which gives me a point for every territory I control. But other than that, this one just gives you points, and this one just gives you resources. So you're going to get the benefit from that. Now, throughout the game, you're going to go to different spaces on the board that have, so if you ever see like the shape grayed out, I guess, or whatever, you get to pick up that. The spaces where it shows a color, you get to actually explore. And when you explore, you're going to place this down and get its benefit. But when you place these down, it has to be adjacent to an area you control. When you place down the tile, for every edge that matches, don't care about these little blue things, that's just decoration, but every edge that matches the terrain type is adjacent to, you're also going to get a point. So you're going to place that down wherever you want, get the benefit, and go. Now when you conquer the area, you could also get the benefits, but either way, you're just placing these out to further it in there. And one of your goals is to be the first player to get to the middle. If you're the first player to get to the middle, you get 10 points. If you're the second, you get 5. And you just put your little cube there. You can't get both rewards. You can only get one of each of these. So this one's conquer 2 neighbors or whatever. And let's actually go over that real quick. So if you conquer a neighbor, so let's put some tiles out here. Just willy-nilly here. So if you go in to, let's say, get one of these little things. Let's say my neighbor's here. Well, let's say I've gone here. I could actually go here and conquer my neighbor. Now, if I do that for my conquer action, which again is going to a place with this type of symbol on there, I have to make sure there's no more than 1 token there. If there's 2 tokens of any type there, you can never go there. So if I go here, I will just lay that one down and I've conquered that area. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you conquer an opponent's area, they have these trap cards. If you play the trap card, your opponent will actually reverse that and your token will be laid down. Now, if your token's laid down, you don't actually control that area, only the ones that are standing. There's only a couple trap cards in here, and they do look like normal Tapestry cards, so you have to keep that in mind. if that happens, the person who was conquering the area still gets to roll the conquer dice, take the whichever benefit they want, and the opponent who played the trap card will get 1 resource, plus also not be conquered. So keep that in mind there. So that is basically the gist of the area control area. You're trying to get as much area as you can to gain points at the different scoring points throughout the game, which again is any of the laurels with the token picture in it. Let's see. I don't see one right off the bat, but there's a bunch. So you can get area control for your territories. So keep that in mind. So that's sort of a little game on here. Then you're also going to be trying to cover as much as this as you can. Now, if you cover a whole 9 3x3 grid, you're going to get 1 resource. Whenever scoring occurs for these guys, which is going to be whenever the laurel has the picture of that building on it, you're going to score for every column and row. You'll get 1 point for every column and row that you have covered. Now, one thing to keep in mind is throughout the game while you're covering these, sometimes when you pick up these buildings, which will happen when you advance the track, when you're the first person to advance the track to where the picture of this is, or you get a advance the technology on your board to the point where it gives you it, you're going to place this on here. And throughout the game, you'll also be removing these. These will go on the board too, and various different things. When you take these off, it's just the leftmost one. But sometimes you won't quite be able to fit these on here, so you can actually cover them where they go partially off the board. So there's a lot with that. And so you have a mini game here where you're trying to cover as much territory in your capital as possible for points. You're trying to get as much territory as you can on here, and you're trying to advance in these tracks. Another neat thing in the game is you can actually get these space tokens, and they're mainly in the exploration region. And the space tokens, when you get one, and you pick them up here, but then again, there's ones that have the picture flipped over. You'll be able to pick one of these and place it out. And you'll get the benefit listed at the top of the card. So for instance, this one here, you just get 13 points. So, like I said, the game's going to continue. You're either do advancements or incomes until you get all of your 3 tapestry cards out. And then on your 5th time that you try to do your income, your game's going to end for you. So the game ends for each player at different points. They're all pretty close, but you have to keep that in mind. Once you're actually done with the game and you have done your 5th income, you are completely out. The only thing you can possibly do is some of these have passive abilities. You'll still get points throughout the game depending on what your opponents do. Now, real quick to go over income. Super easy. You're going to get points for if they have it on here. You're going to play your tapestry card. You're going to look at your player board, and any of the things that are uncovered that have laurel wreaths, you're going to score points on. If you have multiple uncovered, you will score multiple times. These are all individual scorings. So you're going to score all your laurel wreaths, and then you're going to get all your income. So everything else that is uncovered on your board you will get. That's income. So the key to the game is trying to figure out which technology you want to advance the most in, and trying to get the most out of your income phases. That is basically the gist of Tapestry. There's a little bit more to it, but in general, for as much as going on in this game, it's actually pretty easy to explain. A lot of the things, once you go through your first game, are really nice because they're mechanically put in. You could just pay attention to this sheet if you're a new player on here, and this will give you all the information you need. One thing that is cool to talk about real quick before we go is going to be this technology die. When you roll a technology die, you just actually advance up that track. Now, one thing to keep in mind with that is if the spot you're in has an X on it, you will advance up that track, but you won't get any benefits. But these ones that don't have an X, you will get the benefits when you advance up that track. So the science track is a cool way of advancing other tracks while you're going through there, because you do have limited resources in the game and you do have to spend them wisely and you'd have to decide what you're going to focus on. Like I said, there's a lot of ways to get points in this game, and there's a lot of things to think about. Are you going to be trying to fill out your capital as much as possible to get points there? Or are you going to play the territory control game and try to get more points there? So again, that is Tapestry. This is just a general overview, but like I said, this is actually a pretty easy game to teach. So let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this game. So Tapestry, I really like this game. This game isn't a full-blown civilization game. You're not going to be like micromanaging cities and having to deal with like progressive technologies and stuff like this, but it gives you the feel of a civilization game. It also doesn't give you the length of a civilization game. This game really plays within like an hour to two, where most civilization games I've played take far longer, up to like 4 to 5 hours. So it's nice in that it's also really easy to teach. So unlike most civilization games, this game you can teach someone in a couple minutes. You just have to go over the different icons, you have to go over the different tracks real quick, and that the player only really does advancement or income. So once they get those general concepts down, you just flow through the game. They can look at that chart to see what all the different technology tracks will give them. They see on their mat what doing the income action will give them. And once they get through that first game, they'll be experts on it. So that is a good bonus to this game. Also, the component quality in this game is amazing, like I said in the overview. Just all in all, and such a high level replayability with all those different civilization cards that come in the game. And you do sometimes have the ability to get a second one down. It's just wonderful. I really appreciate how much thought went into this game, and I really appreciate how much fun you can get out of this. So as for a civilization game, I'm not sure that I would recommend it for anyone that's looking for like the next greatest civilization game. But if you're looking for a civilization game that you can play with your friends in a reasonable amount of time, that you could explain to people that are newer to the hobby, you can but it's still fun for people who've been in the hobby a long time, this might be the game for you. I really like how war's been abstracted out in the game too, where you're just basically trying to gain as much territory as you want. You have simplistic rules where you're only looking to see one token in an area. You can't have two or more if you want to conquer that area. And you could do cool things in there still with that. You can block out opponents if you really worked hard at it. And also, that capital city is really nice too. Just the polynomial grid or polynomial pieces that you're going to be placing down to cover that grid as much as possible. The different monuments that are the polynomials that take up the huge amounts of spaces on the grid. And then having to deal with places that are already covered or have that red dot in them. So that red dot is nice, except for when it isn't. So if you get that big monument and you can't cover over a whole 3x3 grid, you got to plan out really well during that game. So there is a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about of when you're going to go do your income action. Just overall, I really like this game. I really like this game because it's fun. I really like this game because it's easy to teach. I really like this game because it gives me the idea of a civilization game, even though it might not be a full-blown civilization game. So that's my thoughts on Tapestry by Stonemaier Games. Thank you for watching.